I love NPR. It feeds my ideas and opinions, yet can freeze the thought process with what they call driveway moments. However, I do currently have a gripe about what I hear on NPR. Oh, and I do know where you think I might be going with this. Pledge drives. Heck no. I love those. Professional broadcasters flopping around each other, trying to keep you entertained between announcing dollar amounts and time frames. No, being a creature of language, it is words that can often get to me. In particular, the pseudo-intellectual way that some people may bandy them about. This is not to say that there is a lack of intelligence in people that would use these words. It's more a matter of being caught up in a catchphrase, cliché, or statement of the moment. The first irksome statement, yes, I just said irksome, is at the end of the day. As opposed to saying when all's said and done, or when this is finished, or at the end of all this, the catchphrase at the end of the day is uttered once again. In fact, as I'm proofreading, I heard one person say it 3 times. Well, at the end of the day, you sleep, and when you wake, hopefully the problem is gone. At which time, you will hopefully say something different like, the problem is gone, move on, it's over. And now, I'm done with that. Won't you be? My next victim, or candidate, is, that's a good question, or that's an interesting question, or that's a fill-in-the-blank question. If you didn't want to know anything from anyone, why would you ask them anything at all? And if it's such a good question, why didn't you tackle it in the book that got you this interview? It makes me just want to ask a bad question such as, so, if I have head lice and I take a tour of a public school in Arkansas which has an extreme lack of a mass football team, should we go for the long bomb? What's amazing is that, as public radio goes, someone will have an answer for that. Or it will be classified information that cannot be discussed on air unless you are identified as an anonymous source, even if it means we should go for the punt or the quarterback sneak. But, as I was saying, you shouldn't have to say that's a good question. All you have to do is answer it. If you're trying to pique someone's interest to keep them tuned in, forget it. To them, it already is a good question. But now we come to a word that has surfaced occasionally and vanished until it came up again. Currently, this word is running more rampant than I'd ever heard before. I'll have to say here that I give NPR the acknowledgement of being primarily intelligent thinking people. But I suppose we can all be caught up in the use of catchphrases or buzzwords. And the word of the day is... Are you listening, Amy? I'm asking. The word is...
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely. Positively.
Absolutely not the case. I had absolutely no idea.
I think that's absolutely right.
It's absolutely disgraceful. It's absolutely disgraceful. And that needs to be changed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All this data is absolutely public and on our website and absolutely critical to keep in mind.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, absolutely. Absolutely free of charge.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think you get the point. Now, the last 2 samples you heard came from an author that has a book out called Words That Work. Perhaps he knows better. However, in another case, you'd think someone that read a 900-page book called Wealth of Nations could refrain from using the word absolutely so often. Could be that it was used profusely in the book and he had to use it. I don't know. I'm not reading it. And in yet another case, I've just heard during a pledge drive Richard Lederer say absolutely 2 times. Was it in context? Do you think I'm going to argue with him? Absolutely. I've become so attuned to the word that I can tell at the beginning of the interview if you're an absolutely person before you even say it. I'm usually not wrong. I don't think that's a good thing, especially if you're way too bubbly when you say it. At times, I've actually heard someone use all 3 of my peeves in the space of a 5-minute spot. See if you can picture this as a sentence that may be used soon coming to your town. That's a great question, and you're absolutely right. But at the end of the day... This is disappointing, but not devastating. What gets me is that none of you seem to be immune from using the word out of context. You're getting way too comfortable with this word spilling out of you. We happen to have a lot of words in our language that have nearly the same syllable count, so you can sound intelligent and vague enough with those, too. Consider using completely useless versus absolutely useless. Think of whether you could have said, "Oh, yes," emphatically, instead of absolutely. Keep in mind that you could always use definitely, certainly, totally, wholly. That's correct. Very much so. Indeed. Exactly. Without a doubt. In context. Hell, say hash brown. I'll get it. In other words, to use another catchphrase of the day, all options are on the table. What's interesting to me is that the British just sound better saying absolutely. It seems natural and generally in context. However, if you should happen to listen to the half-hour quiz show My Word on NPR, the chairman says it enough to make you dizzy. As for the rest of you, if you're trying to tick me off, cut it out. It worked. If you're doing it and are unaware, hello again, Amy. Now you know. Cut it out. And now, I'd like to close with a respectful nod to another wordsmith and his current word of choice in combination with my word of choice.
The wind was astonishing, both in its force and in its absolute efficiency at blocking the sounds of cars and buses.
Yes, the grammar god's grin. But in case you're thinking of establishing your own absolute franchise, consult your agent first.
I absolutely knew about the research. I didn't buy it. I thought, no way.